Welcome back to Be Well with MS podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Agne Straukiene, neurologist. The space where we bring science, lived experiences, creativity, and humanity together to support people living with MS. Today, I'm absolutely delighted and thrilled, and I would like to welcome someone whose voice has been reshaping how we think about the disability, fashion, representation, and empowerment. Roxy Murray is a keynote speaker, patient advocate, and powerful champion for diversity, inclusivity, and true health equity. Living with multiple sclerosis herself, she has devoted her career to making sure that no one in our community is unseen or unheard. With a foundation rooted in art and design, Roxy blends creativity with activism in a way that is both authentic and radically transformative. Her work amplifies the voices of people from underrepresented and marginalized backgrounds, especially those who are ethnically diverse, disabled, and LGBTQIA+. But one of Roxy's deepest passions and the heart of today's episode and discussion is adaptive fashion. She brings a vision of style that is not only beautiful and functional, but liberating. Her goal is simply yet profound: to help individuals with disabilities express themselves confidently and authentically through fashion, design, and personal style. Today we'll explore clothing and makeup, and how can this become tools of empowerment? Even with the fatigue and mobility challenges and hand tremors, make daily routines feel more complex, but we'll try to understand how to overcome these barriers, and we'll talk about the practical styling tips, adaptive methods, and makeup applications, and the bigger picture, how the fashion industry can and must evolve to truly include and celebrate disabled bodies and identities. So, Roxy, it's a great honor to have you with us today, and welcome to Be Well with MS.
Thank you so much. That was an amazing introduction. I really appreciate that. And I'm really happy to be here and to talk about this with you. It's a topic that's really close to my heart, but also I love what you personally do for the community and in your own practices. So I appreciate you having me on and having this conversation with me.
Thank you, Roxy. So your journey is incredible, inspiring, and I'm eager to dive into our discussion and learn more about the transformative power of fashion and how it can be a profound tool for personal expression and empowerment and inspiration. Maybe let's get started and talk about your advocacy work. And I know that it's deeply inspiring with your personal experience living with MS. And how has this journey shaped your approach to fashion and styling?
Well, obviously being diagnosed with MS took essentially at the start of my journey. That was 18 years ago, plus actually it might be 19, almost 20 now. I studied fashion and I love fashion. That's my number one thing. But it took a lot of my energy, and I was going through a change where I was coming to terms with living with MS, an incurable illness. And in that time, I felt like I lost a lot of my personal style. And with that went a lot of my personal self-worth. A lot of my self-worth was wrapped up in art and in fashion. And I couldn't give myself that thing that made me feel good day to day. I kind of lost it. So within my journey, I kind of used the feelings I was having to look at how I could find that again. Where could I find that part of me that made up my personality? Because I didn't want to give that up to an illness or a disability that I had acquired. I still felt that there had to be a way that I could live with MS, live well, and still be who I was and dress in a way that made sense to me and allowed me to feel like myself and present and beautiful in the world. While doing that, I looked at loads of different labels, different clothing stuff that I could find, and I didn't see a lot of it at that point that really either lended to my personal style or lended to ease of dress for people with disabilities. there's a lot of clothing brands, as everyone knows. There's a lot of amazing clothing brands, but not all of them, the pieces when you're having your high fatigue days with MS, are easy moments to feel stylish in a way that's not making you feel overwhelmed or taking the small amount of spoons that you have in that day. And I want to talk about it, essentially. I just started being like, hey, where's the clothes that like make me feel good and allow me to get dressed in the morning with ease in a way that no matter what my MS is presenting me, because obviously that changes day to day, as you know, that I can still feel like me in those moments. And that's how I started my advocacy. That's what's kind of gave me that power to start talking about it. And then I kind of lended towards my friends that also were in the fashion industry, making amazing changes, and it brought me to an adaptive fashion space.
I think just to reflect, how colors are influencing our perception of the world, how do we feel when we are dressed up, when we have a makeup on? It's a different dimension, different layers. In general, we like to look good. We always looking for some sort of solutions to make us feel good. Sometimes women spend a lot of time buying things, and that's a burst of the dopamine, a neurochemical that gives a sort of a good feeling. So, and then actually putting on things, that's another sort of, and if in particular something that really fits and makes you feel comfortable, I think it really improves your quality of life. And we don't discuss that certainly in our clinics. And I think such an interesting, fascinating topic to tackle and sort of get into deep understanding what makes people confident, happy, and brightens the day. And maybe almost it's like, how do you set up, for the rest of your days? Like, what do you do in the mornings? Like, how do you cope? And I think it's very, very insightful what you just said. And it's clear that your perspective on fashion is both unique and impactful. The way you look when we meet face to face and see each other is always something to learn from, matching certain colors, certain textures and shapes of the clothes. And I think let's talk a little bit maybe from the perspective of the functionality and fashionable clothing. Many of our listeners are always looking for practical advice, because there are some symptoms that really limits how people can prepare for the day, whether that involves waking up and feeling exhausted and fatigued. Sometimes, that there are some tremors, there are some mobility issues. Getting and having shower is another challenge for people, and then putting the makeup sometimes is not, even on the table, because it's difficult to look after the hygiene, even that. What are the top recommendations for choosing the clothing that is not only functional, but also keeps the style high,
Yeah, so as for backgrounds in styling, I had to relook at like what I could do. What do I do in styling that could work for me in my day-to-day life? And a lot of it was planning. So when I had like good days or good MS days, I would look at like, why didn't I take that time to sit there and plan outfits that make me feel good? But they didn't just come from what was inside my house and the clothing that I already had, but it also came about re-looking at what my current needs were with MS. And actually, like, what can I do on my worst day versus what I can do on my best day? So when I was last in one of the neurological places that we go to, someone was like, oh, I really like the outfit. And I explained to them, like, this outfit, I tried to make something that was both professional, but was easy to dress for me. Because when you travel with MS, I always feel very tired for the first 2 days. It takes me a bit of time to come back to my highest level of productivity. And I went for a stretched velvet skirt. Like, no one knew it was a stretched velvet skirt, but it was a stretched velvet skirt, but it still looked very professional. And then I also used a silk shirt, but instead of a silk shirt with loads of buttons, I went for something that was just a wrap, so I could tie it around my own waist and then tie it into a bow. Because sometimes with my dexterity with MS, or I'm having a really intense day, spasms and stuff, and also my nails, that's just style choice, but I can't do buttons as well as I'd like to. I don't have that energy. So that it eliminates that, but it still allows me to show up and be present in a way that makes me feel like when I'm talking to people or like around people that are high professional, that I also feel like I fit into that scenario, but in a way that makes sense for my style and who I am versus what they present. And that started to make me realize, like, oh, there are ways and there are clothing pieces and adaptive fashion is super powerful for people because it allows you to be who you want to be and express yourself in the way you want to express yourself, in the way you want to. And I love fabrics. I'm a very much a sensory human being. So for me, you'll see I wear like a lot of mesh, a lot of velvets, a lot of leather, a lot of lace. It's just what I love. But for a while, I couldn't find pieces that lended themselves to ease of dress. So it took a lot of research and a lot of planning. And I will say, on my highest fatigue days, I do have what I call those loungewear moments, but loungewear moments where I still feel like me. So I'll have those trousers that have a little bit of stretch, if you feel bloated or something, that don't take a lot of energy to pull on, not jeans, so they're not tight. Although my amazing friend that works at Unhidden has created a collection for Primark and her own brand where she has jeans where they are elasticated waist. And actually you can zip up to the knee. So if you're a wheelchair user, there's an ease of dress. The length changes as well. So you don't have the extra materials and the extra, like the situation where you need a little bit more length because when you sit down, your trousers go up. And if you're seated all the time, you want to still have your trousers hitting the bottom of your foot. She created an amazing collection where that was possible. But she also included loungewear and pajamas. And I think pajamas can also be a fashion moment because if you spend a lot of time in pajamas, which happens with a chronic illness, you still don't want to feel like, you still want to be able to wear pajamas that make you feel good. And if they're adaptive and if you need to stay in hospital, but you still need your IVs to happen, they have spaces where you can zip that part open and you can access them. So they have access points so that when you're in hospital, you don't feel like you have to undress and take all your clothes off to be able to do the simple things that doctors need to be able to access to you, which I thought was super clever, but also gave you not only a little bit of privacy, but also allowed you to still feel like yourself at my most vulnerable moments. So that was really powerful for me. And there's a few other brands that I've come across, like Human Beauty, who have made makeup for people with disabilities, specifically in a way that we can hold them. So they have wider bases. The makeup doesn't roll off the table. So you can imagine you put a lipstick down, you get to roll off the side of the table, which helps everyone. But if you're disabled, you've got disability, you've got so much energy, you don't want to be like having to run after your lipstick, or you might only be able to hold the mascara at a certain way. So you can actually do your mascara like this rather than feeling that you have to do that, which means that depending on how you can bend your arm, you can still allow yourself to apply makeup and feel beautiful in a way that makes sense to you.
Are we allowed to mention the brand that you just said? We're not promoting anything, but it's just for people who are looking some solutions to buy some adaptable makeup tools that they could actually...
They're very, very well known. They've both been on Dragon's Den at some point, but you've got Unhidden, but they've also got a collection in Primark. And then you've got Human Beauty that has a makeup collection, and they make beautiful pieces that are easily accessible and adaptable specifically for disability and disabled people's needs. And there's many other adaptive fashion brands coming out now. We're in a very beautiful space where fashion universities are understanding the power of adaptive fashion, but not also the fact that it is a business in itself. And it's very lucrative if they take it on board. And they're actually teaching students in university the power of adaptive fashion and how to make their collections more adaptive, so that in the future, when they are the new designers of the next generation, they're making clothing that works for disabled people. And we know if it works for disabled people, it works for everyone. Everyone can wear adaptive fashion. It's beautiful. They do stuff like where they have hidden seams where it's literally just like buttons, like magnetic buttons that seal a seam, but it's invisible seam, so you can't see it on a pair of trousers or a shirt. But it doesn't mean that someone that's non-disabled can't wear it. So they're realizing there's like a powerful way of doing fashion that benefits everyone. And that's so refreshing to see, especially as someone that took so much time in their life to find those pieces and collate them to make it work for me, that the future might just be we're included, which is what we want for our wellness and our ease of dress.
Those are excellent points, and functionality and fashion don't have to be mutually exclusive. And your tips certainly prove that. I think, a lot of people change the shape as they live, whether they gain some more weight or they lose some weight, so adaptive fashion, like if you can wrap up yourself, you can maybe buy a few good quality, good fabric, breathable, like the fabric is not synthetic or polyester, but it's more cotton, natural, organic. If I could call organic fabrics, are they available? There must be some sort
I
of,
think cotton organic
100%.
fabrics are.
Yeah, so I think the more natural, you may have like 1 or 2 pieces only. We don't need many things and follow the high fashion, although we may sometimes. It depends on your mood, how you feel, and how what's your function to dress up in one or another shoe. I think the other hot topic is the shoe wear, and I could sometimes see people coming into my clinics and they wear various different shoes, from flip-flops to trainers, and what I fascinate about is that straps, that you don't need to do your shoelaces. Can you reflect a little bit on the shoe wear? And some women like to wear heels, which is understandable, and if you can do that, perfect. If you can't, so flats. But let's delve a little bit on the shoe wear.
Shoes have been my absolute nightmare in transitioning with my disability, and obviously having to use a mobility aid, and how my actual walking itself has changed. I've got a lot of foot drop. So I was like a heels girl. I loved a good pair of heels. But then I realized one day, no, I can't do that, because my knee would drop out and then my foot wouldn't always take the right step. So then it became a slight little hazard to myself. So I was like, right, you have to put the heels away. There's days where maybe you can do that, but that's not every day. And then I started to get like I say they're kitten heel, but they're more of a block heel rather than a kitten heel. So they're technically still flat, but they kind of allowed me to feel like I was doing a little bit more than a flat. Finding adaptive footwear has still been quite a new thing, I will say, and be fully honest. Obviously, you've got places like Nike and stuff that have done adaptive footwear. And I actually have a pair of the trainers that you don't even have to, there's no laces. It like flips open like this. You put your foot in, you put your foot down, and it closes. So they're like hands-free footwear, which is like literally revolutionary. And it's so, so good and so easy. But they still haven't got enough designs for my liking. So if Nike's here listening to us, hopefully they'll make some more for us. But flats have been good. I've been trying to buy high quality flats, which is not easy for everybody in this current climate. But I do find like soft leather flats are a nicer, with a good padded sole. It's something that actually helps me walk has been helpful. I can't wear flip-flops, so I'm not like a flip-flop girly, and I don't have a lot of friends that wear flip-flops. We probably more like to wear Crocs, because the strap kind of encases it around my foot, which I think for me has created less hazards. When I've worn flip-flops, I've actually gone completely head over and fallen over. Especially when I said
these are the most dangerous flip-flops. Like each time I see somebody walking into my knee, it's like, oh no. And then now they have an answer, say, no, doctor, don't. This is just for this moment. I've got to put other shoes in my car. It's like, thank God.
But yeah, because honestly, even on a beach,
they're most dangerous.
I can't do it. Like, it ends up falling over, and you want to, because they're so beautiful sometimes, but you just, there's no function in it. So I've been talking to
it doesn't support your foot at all.
No, not
it doesn't support your foot, and and if you have like a foot drop, so that's the worst. Like you can easily trip and fall. So if always consider before you're putting the flip-flops on, if you have MS and you have some limb weakness, that's or some balance coordination problems, that's really no for you to wear the flip-flops. That's the worst decision ever.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will say, Havanas do have a pair with a nice backstrap that are elasticated, which was very helpful when you really, if you must wear a pair of flip-flops, at least get the pair with the backstrap to keep them on your feet when you need to move, because the other ones are, like you just said, they have a hazard that comes with them no matter how beautiful they are. Trainers, I love. I've been trying to collect trainers that are both beautiful but also work. So as you know, in healthcare, like especially at conference and stuff, people like to be able to wear trainers, but there's a way of finding trainers that work in a professional environment, but also work in your everyday, whether you're doing sports. And that's been quite helpful. And you can move through the world with ease. But I've had a lot of messages from people being like, right, I'm so sick of putting my dresses on, having to put trainers on. What do I do? And I'm like, look, we have to wear the flats. We have to get a good quality pair of flats for now until we get those designers that are changing it. I'm having conversations with people. That's what a lot of my advocacy comes from. It's like, great, we've done the clothes. That's perfect. We love that. We're rolling with that. That's happening. Fantastic. Shoes, though. Shoes are something that everyone needs. Then there's a, you need wide fit and non-wide fit, and we need the array of sizes. But we don't have the good quality and the ease of purchase points and prices that are available right now. So how about that's our next step in these universities for the shoe designers to look at making adaptive fashion? And I have a lot of friends looking at that now. It's not as easy, but you've got a company called Open Style that was based in the US that have come to the UK for the first time. They did a cohort this year where they were looking at adaptive fashion. And currently in the V&A, you've got the Disability and Design exhibition. And they actually have books there, and they have what they've made until designers change how they make shoes. They've created like a kit to adapt your original shoes, to use them and be able to put them on with ease and move with them with ease. So that was useful and a really good insight into how we can adapt the things we currently have, rather than having to go out and buy a bunch of new stuff, because for a lot of disabled people, that's not possible. A lot of people's wallets are tight, and they need things that they can do with the things they actually already have in their houses. So that's how they approach that. So that was the first step. But they're looking at how we can then encourage designers to make adaptive shoes, like you said, without laces. There's a lot of people that are starting to make trainers where they look like they have laces, but they're not. They're stretchy, same with a Nike, where you can just put your foot in, but you still have that like style point where you're like, well, actually I like the look of laces, but I just can't do them. And they're creating those, so that's helpful.
The creativity and innovation is those techniques that really helps to develop strategies that would perhaps improve some mechanics of the walking for people with MS. And it's super important that it's comfortable, and I think it's going to be a game changer for many of our listeners listening to what you just said about the brands and what are the trainers or shoes or other clothes or makeup available for people with disabilities. So thank you for sharing that. Another important, when we talk about the beauty and looks and fashion and what's important is, I think, the hairstyles and how to, have a good quality of the haircut that doesn't require a lot of effort every morning, as well as I would like to delve a little bit into the nail sort of function. Sometimes we have patients coming with ingrowth of the toenails, and that causes a lot of pain and extra problems for people to walk and mobilize, and particularly people who are more disabled, for example. So they really need to seek some advice. So, and if you have a possibility to have some manicure or pedicure on the regular basis, I think that's really important for overall wellness and well-being. Would you agree with that?
Yes. So I never used to get my nails done. I've only been getting my nails done for probably like the last 5 years. And it's something that I changed because I realized there was something. When I went to hospital, it was a weird grounding point to see my nails. And that sounds strange, but it just made me feel better about myself, no matter if my hair was messed up or if I felt like I couldn't get dressed in the way I wanted to. When my nails felt good, I felt like, okay, that's still a part of me that's existing. But I make sure every month now that I go for a manicure, pedicure. And it's like my only treat that I consistently keep for myself monthly. Because not only do I think it makes me feel good, there's something therapeutic about a little bit of self-care, for someone to take their time and for you to even take an hour to yourself where you sit there and you're not worried about anything and you're just sitting with yourself and someone's giving you something back, because we all need that. We all need that care, especially when you live with chronic illness. Like, you need to feel loved and loved. And it's just a little bit of self-love, which I think is so powerful for us. And it just makes you feel better, because the same way when I wasn't moving around, like, I would look at my toes and be like, oh, what's going on? Like, I had to research for a while. Is there something connected to nails and MS? Like, what's going on there? Because I feel like they're changing. But I realized a lot of it was probably because my self-care and the level of self-care I could give myself was actually changing. So then I had to go, okay, now I need to pay for that. It's not always easy, and it's not cheap to get done. that's the one thing that I probably do more than even getting a haircut. I make sure I have that just for my own grounding.
Yeah. And the haircut needs to be convenient, that it doesn't disrupt your visual field, that you can see. A lot of people describe some double vision and blurred vision and sometimes eye pain, that comes and goes. And you don't want anything to block your visual field, like something that you can actually, and maybe just simple techniques like combing and washing and shaking your hair, and then it looks beautiful, and I guess that's upon the hairstylist or hairdresser that makes you not to work every morning, on your hairstyles when you wake up, like it looks already okay. And I think it comes from the hair industry, isn't it? Can you delve a little bit on this sort of hairstyles and what to look for and what to ask when you go and see the hairdresser?
So with my hairdressers, I always tell them, like, I've got curly hair, so it comes with so many levels, right? So obviously curly hair entangles itself. If I sleep in my bed, you get that rubbing everyone does. So the first thing I did before even a haircut was I changed one of my pillowcases to silk pillowcase. And then I do now wear like a head wrap, which is like a silk head wrap, which stops the friction, which actually decreases the amount of cat tangling. However, anyone that has MS, I'm listening to you, and trust me, I totally understand that when our temperature goes up and we start getting hot flushes, sometimes that's hard to do. So if you get really overwhelmed with temperature with MS, I would say go with the pillowcase, not the head wrap, because the head wrap traps the heat in. And actually, you're going to feel horrible in the morning because then your temperature rises too much. And we know what it's like. I mean, you get too much temperature rising with MS. So I would always go with the pillowcase, not the head wrap. And then when I go to the salon, I'd be like, look, I have curly hair. Obviously, it dries out quite quickly, especially when it gets washed. I need an ease of cut. So I'd tell them a little bit about my lifestyle. I'd have to be honest, and that takes a level of honesty. Like, this is what I do. I can only wash my hair once a week. What can I do? What products can I use that are easy to use? I have 1 day a week I can do this. How do I set myself up for the rest of the days? Obviously, some people need to wash their hair more. We do have dry shampoo in that. That's helpful. If you can only give yourself a spritz and a brush, that's always helpful to have. But I just tell them what my day-to-day life's like. Do I go to the gym? What kind of profession I work in? Where I want my hair. So if I want a shorter style, want an above shoulder style that's workable with ease, I tend to stay away from bangs or fringes, because if I can't do stuff, it grows out too quickly. Then with my already rapidly changing eyesight, it's not helpful when you've got something over your face that you can't use. And I just let them know like what I know about my hair, because I didn't know a lot about my hair. Some of us know so much about our hair textures and what we need, and others don't. And I stopped dyeing my hair different colors. Before MS, my hair was like red and black, orange and black, red, green and black. And I realized what happened was it was coming out very quickly. And then I felt like I looked a certain kind of way. I didn't feel as beautiful as I could because my hair looked washed out or my roots were coming through, and that was just changing how I felt about myself. So I more like to go with more natural tones, because it allows me to just feel like it's less maintenance. It's also less money to keep my hair in a natural tone. So that was also very helpful. So I would just write a list of what I want, what I like, the things and like the style that actually gravitate to naturally without my MS. Then I would make sure I had the foundations of like pillowcases for ease day to day. So it's less brushing, it's less tangling, that's helpful. Let them know what my realistic wash pan looks like currently to my hairdresser, and then with them create a plan of ease of what's the best style for me to go for with the amount of energy I have and the amount of maintenance I can uptake. Because some people can't get to the hairdresser every 4 weeks, some people can get there every week. You might only go there every 20 weeks. But I was honest with that, to be like, this is what I need. I need something that can grow out in a way that still works until I can next come with you, whether that's where I can afford it or I have the energy to get there. And that was how I started that process. And also change your hairdresser if they can't do that for you. Please think about finding a hairdresser that works for you, because it's the back and forth relationship.
Wonderful. I think that's really helpful tips that you just expressed. And I can only echo and say, having dry hair of mine, so the less you wash, the the less dry and more moisturized the hair is. And you can actually train your hair not to wash every day. You can Google and look into a curly hair method and identify certain products and how to train your hair that it's not greasy, like that you don't need to wash it. So there's different approaches these days, and try to avoid parabens and sulfates because it strips your hair. It makes it even drier, fragile. You start losing your hair. So it's a horrible thing. Nothing against the Head and Shoulder, but watch the labels and make sure that there are no parabens and sulfates in it.
Yeah.
So lastly, the fashion industry is ever evolving. How do you see its role in promoting inclusivity for people with disabilities, and what changes would you like to see to foster this?
So fashion industry has a massive role in creating like adaptive fashion and representation for disabled people. We have some top brands that we all know, that we all love. There's a lot of advertising. Advertising is a powerful tool. We all know that. It creates it in a way that we see it all the time. We have social media now. Advertising is like, we can't get away from it. And essentially, by actually having disabled people in these advertisements and actually having us part of campaign helps people understand, A, we exist, and actually there is a market to create fashion for disabled people. It also allows disabled people to feel like they deserve beautiful, amazing fashion to be created for them. And it means that the wider world, the new designers, the people coming up, people that are looking at fashion, children that are like, oh, I love this designer, because we all looked at fashion when we were kids, right? We looked in glossy magazines, we looked at the things that we did, runway shows. And if there's no representation there, people can't see themselves in those spaces, in those industries. And they don't feel like they have to constantly push through barriers and walls. Like it's a constant fight to be seen or to be heard in the fashion industry as a disabled person. We have a few top models that have disabilities, but even them, if you go into their Instagrams and you hear them speak, and they still to this day find it really hard to get booked on jobs. And often when they do, they are booked by people that don't have adaptive fashion in the collection. It's more you're dressing disabled people in non-adaptive fashion and it feels like more like tokenism inclusivity rather than real inclusivity. Tommy Hilfiger made an amazing leap in fashion. He was one of the first designers to create an amazing adaptive collection of pieces from his standard collections that looked exactly like everything else but had adaptive features. And that's the first designer to really go, okay, I care and I want to change this. But we need more designers to do that. We've got Victoria's Secrets that have done underwear, which is fantastic. But we need more people to come on board, and we need to do it consistently and not for it to look like it's a one-time moment, one campaign, one disabled people, one look, and realize that not all disabled people are wheelchair users. Disability comes in many shapes and sizes and many genders and backgrounds. Some people use sticks and walking aids like this. Some people use rollers. Some people use wheelchairs. So we need to consider, the fashion industry consider when they're showing disability, that actually disability is a full circle. It's not just one look. And to actually change how and who they're showing you in the disabled sphere. That's very helpful. That's helpful for people to see themselves. And it also means that the same people also might decide to become the next level of designers because they're realizing the industry itself is being more inclusive, which makes you feel like, actually, if I do this, there will be amendments and reasonable adjustments for me to be the best next disabled fashion designer, rather than feeling like you're trying to fight against an industry that already has a level of toxicity in it. I, as a stylist, came out of that space because there was no adaptation around like timeframes and adjustments to be able to do my job. And for me, my disability is not as severe as other people's because I only use a stick. But I also had to pick up loads of collections, and times 6 a.m. mornings don't always work for someone with MS. So we need to look at the industry as a whole. We need to bring disabled people in there as people that you speak to look at the way that we can change it. You've got an amazing Irish lady called Sinead Burke who does that with her brand currently. She's working with Vogue Business, she's working with top designers, and she is fighting to push for more adaptive, inclusive, disabled fashion and representation inside that. We need more people like her that also showing, hey, we have money, we want it, but no one's creating it, and not all of us can create it ourselves. What do you need to know from us? How can we help you help us? And then also then filter that through to actual imagery and stuff, so the wider world also see the beauty and the benefit of having disabled people in the industry.
Wonderful. Roxy, I love your sticks, and they like accessories to your whole look and style. So where do you get all these fascinating sticks, right? Oh my God, this is red today, right? So, but you have different colors and different shapes.
This is
amazing.
Red. I don't know if the camera pick it up. It's got like bubbles going through it.
Yeah.
It's called the Moulin Rouge stick. This particular one is from a brand called Neo Walks, and they're perspex sticks, and they come with different ferrules on the bottom. Their amount of sticks they have is unprecedented. There's no way someone can't find a colourful stick on there that doesn't work for them. And they come with different handles. This is a Snoopy handle, but they have curved handles and they have straight handles. And if you have like a issue holding something that's hard, they do silicone inserts to go over it, so you've got a bit of a softer pad. They've even got light up sticks. It's actually quite incredible. Glitter sticks, they do customs. It's fantastic. But then I also have some wooden sticks that I absolutely love by another brand, and they have like crow faces. And I've got like a skull one that's very Alexander McQueen, and you can actually twist the heads off and change the different handles to match your outfit. If you're very like me, I do like to match things to what I'm wearing. It's just probably just how I like to style. I feel like styling is a very powerful tool, especially if you only have basics in clothing and that's what you want to wear, but you want to feel elevated. Having a beautiful stick or something that's an accessory also makes it feel like you are really, showing an outfit, but not having to spend loads of money. And now at this point, people actually like message me to be like, hi, I've made a stick and I think you'd love it. Or I've got some beautiful rollers like from Biarca and stuff that are absolutely gorgeous, come in multiple colors, super functional, very, very lightweight, because having things that heavy is not my forte anymore.
Yeah.
And that's really helpful. Social media, Instagram has been an amazing space for me to find sticks. If you put mobility aids in, the amount of mobility aids that come up now is unprecedented. It's incredible. It was not like that a few years ago. And they're worldwide. It's just, I don't know, I think it's the best adaptive fashion tool that's come out of it. Even wheelchairs now are changing and being totally amazing. You've got like wheelchair covers for the wheels that are like colourful and beautiful, and yeah, it's just, there's no limit to beautiful fashionable mobility aids currently.
Wonderful. It's an asset that you use for boosting your function and mobility. Quite often people say, oh, I don't want to start using stick because I feel like I'm getting more disabled and more progressively worse. But actually stick gives you a lot of more ways of function and walk and do things for yourself. So it's really an adjunctive therapy and a beauty asset that some people who don't even require to use a stick now, they're going to start using after this presentation of various different shapes and colors and styles that are available, and watch on the media and Instagram and look for the right one for you that really will brighten your day and uplift your spirits and make you feel better overall. So we all, and we both now today with Roxy, would like you to be beautiful, to be inspired, to be confident, and start looking after yourself from the day one when you're given diagnosis, or even before the diagnosis. The more you establish your routine, your behavior, the better you're going to feel in the long run. MS is not a sprint, it's a marathon. It's a long journey. So you really want to set the scene that you're going to feel good about yourself. So Roxy, your powerful vision for the future of fashion is extraordinary. I really enjoyed every second spent today. We could probably continue forever and all day long. Your contributions are certainly paving the way for a more inclusive industry. And to every listener, please do look after yourself. Be beautiful. Try to make your day with simple behavior, simple tasks that makes you feel uplifted, inspired. And as we wrap up, I want to thank you, Roxy, for such an enlightening conversation. Your expertise and experiences and expression have not only educated us, but also inspired us to embrace our individualities, our personalities, and who we are to live this life, no matter the disability or function or dysfunction. So to our listeners, thank you for tuning in. And remember that fashion is for everyone. Nobody is excluded. And it is an expression who we are, and there are no limits to how we can express ourselves. And disability is not a barrier for this. So be beautiful, everyone. And Roxy, where everyone could find you to get inspired, to get more views and insights of your life and who you are.
So I have an Instagram, which is the Multiple Sclerosis Fashionista. And I also have a website, which is www.multiplesclerosisfashionista.com. You can send me an email or a message. I'm always happy to help. Do reach out. I love having more and more people. And together, hopefully, we can be more spice, more fashionable, and more amazing with MS. So thank you.
Thank you, Roxy. So don't forget to follow us on BeeWellwithMS, www.BeeWellwithMS.com for more episodes. And until next time, stay well, be well, and be empowered. Be beautiful. Bye for now. So let's buzz online now in the meantime, and have a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Thank you.
And enjoy yourself. So yeah, be beautiful.
You too.
As you are.
Stay sparkling.
Thank you. Bye-bye.